For the first time ever, I completed a mock draft on my own. It's going to be bad. Please have mercy on me.
No.
Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Will.
And today we're doing another mock draft, but this time I did my own, he did his own, and we're comparing mock drafts and seeing how ridiculous mine is and probably how more accurate his is.
I don't know that one.
And yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see your picks.
Yeah. This is it'll be the channel's first ever, and as far as I've seen, the first ever on YouTube. I've never seen someone do this. Mock draft versus, where we kind of just go head to head, and we had prep time, so it'll be interesting to see where we differ and who feels like we did better. And obviously you get to judge this as well. Obviously go into the comments and say which ones you like, and I look forward to looking back at these, especially after the draft, and just seeing how we did. So
90% of them are going to be about my mock draft. They're going to be like, bro, why?
It'll be interesting. But I say we get to work on the ones, especially that we kind of have an idea of how these are gonna go. At least a better idea of these early ones. So, number 1,
Cam Ward. What? I have him as number 1.
I also have Cam Ward.
Number 2, I have Abdul Carter. Great defender. You put him against, or not against, but with Myles Garrett. Have mercy on those O-lines. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I think with the Browns at 2, I think Abdul Carter still makes a lot of sense. Doubling up at edge after re-signing Garrett, you get a really, really scary just edge room that can make hell for any quarterback. But unfortunately, with them actually getting or extending Myles Garrett, I kind of see that as a potential nod in a different direction. So I actually kind of have Travis Hunter here just to differentiate kind of those positions. And, corner room's getting a little bit older. You might lose some guys there, and you get a potential weapon as well. How much he plays, who knows? But I think Travis Hunter really helps them kind of build out the roster rather than adding a super strong emphasis on those down on that D line. So it's kind of just balancing it out if they choose to go that way. So
okay. For number 3, I have Travis Hunter going to New York, the Giants specifically. Giants have always needed a solid corner, and they can also get a wide receiver out of him. So I guess you get 2 players at the same time. So Travis Hunter will be a game changer for that offense and defense. And whoever has him as a wide receiver will be really happy. So.
Yeah, and for me at 3, as you can see, as I just made that while he was doing that, I actually have the Giants trading down, and it's a questionable move when you view the fact that Abdul Carter is right there. And I think the Giants could make a move, or I think the Giants could go and take Abdul Carter, but I think with how solid they are at edge, they could get, and how much value they would get for a trade up like this. I think trading down, they can still get a really important piece to them, and I think the Bears are a potential team. I think the Bears are a team that is very you almost expect them to kind of make a move up, or at least try to make a move. And so if the Giants are willing to shop, I think they're the team to move up. Giants, again, they have other positions they can go. They have other places they can go. Yes, Abdul Carter is one of those blue chip players, but I have the Bears actually trading up to take him instead, and the Giants are kind of just okay taking a step back. So taking those extra picks. So Bears, Abdul Carter at 3.
Cool. Number 4, I have Will Campbell going to the Patriots.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
it doesn't need much of an explanation. They've needed to fix that O-line for a long time. So
I agree. If it's not like and that's not to say that it can't be anything else. Even with Travis Hunter off the board, who I think would be their favorite pick, Tedrick McMillan is still a very possible option here in New England. But I think Will Campbell, they need offensive linemen, need to protect Drake May, and Will Campbell just fits that. I think he fits really well with them. Again, could be Membu as well. Both have been mocked as like the top tackles of the class, but I think Campbell is a little bit more what the Patriots would want. I think that works a little bit better in their favor. So Campbell is the pick, personally. You said the same thing, but you know my point.
Number 5, we got Jacksonville going for Mason Graham. They've ever since the Saxonville, they've always needed to revive that defense both on the line and in the backfield. However, I think in this particular draft, they probably should focus on the line because that's always been an issue for a long time. More severe, I'd say, than the corner situation. So that's who I have.
Yeah, I do think they have. You bring up a good point with corner, that there is a concern there, but I think there's enough depth that they can get someone in the second round. There's some prospects in the second round who are projected second round or third round who I really like as a potential pickup for them. Again, later. But the way the team has, what the team has said. The way they've addressed free agency has been kind of leaving this hole in the D-line, and it seems like it's meant for Mason Graham. And I think there's a potential trade down here for the Jaguars just to get more value, just sitting right in front of the Raiders, who are kind of like in this spot would be the favorite for Ashton Jeanty. But I think you can't find anything or they don't move down. I think it's Mason Graham. I think just makes so much sense unless someone better falls to you. It seems like the perfect fit for them.
Yeah. Number 6. This is where people are probably going to start killing me. So I have the Raiders moving down. Yeah, you can start throwing stuff at me. Hey, this is my first mock draft. Give me some mercy. But I have the Bears moving up, taking the Raiders' spot with them flip-flopping. Reason being, I think the Raiders can get more out later than they will at that point at number 6. Yes, I'm passing up on Ashton Jeanty with the Raiders, but I think it would be better for them in the long run, mostly because I think corner is probably the most glaring thing, I'd say, on the Raiders. Yes, everything is a mess over there, but I think corner is probably the worst thing over there. And now that Travis Hunter is off the board on my end, the next best is Will Johnson. Get to more on that later. But at number 6, I have the Bears picking Ashton Jeanty. Bears with a strong running back. It's good. I like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is another player they move up for. If it's like if they can't get up to get Abdul Carter, it'd be somewhere in this 3 to 5 range. I think it's very possible the Bears to move up. 6 is interesting, especially passing on again the Raiders passing on Jeanty.
Yeah,
and you explained that, but it's would be surprising to me because there's so much. I think there is a lot of rebuilding they need to do and trading down. If they get the value, I could see it, but Genty just comes off as one of those blue chip players where unless they see some actual like concerns with him, I have a hard time seeing them not at least either taking him or someone else. But I have a really hard time seeing them
Taking Genty.
not taking Genty with the fact that like again, yes, he's only a running back and all these things, but when a guy seems as special as he is, it's one of those where it's hard to pass up, especially passing him up to someone who is going to come up and take him. But again, if they don't feel like it, if he's the guy, I could see it happening. But especially the Raiders, I think Pete Carroll would just drool over having an Ashton Genty, and that's why I'm gonna have Ashton Genty. Again, it could be a number of guys. I think first round, it probably will be a weapon.
Yeah.
Probably. But if Ashton Genty's there, you go, that is a special player, and that's why I have the Raiders taking him.
Jets at number 7, I have them taking Membo because offensive line is kind of booty over there. They've also just needed someone to solidify the tackle position. So,
yeah, Jets fans probably won't be too excited this first round. I do think it's going to be a trenches move, and I think that's going to come for the Jets. Going to come down to the Jaguars because I think if Mason Graham is there, I think that's who they look towards because I think that would work really well with them. But especially if he is gone, I completely agree. Tackle is a really good move, and I do like Membu. Putting him opposite of Fashanu and building up like a truly good young O-line, especially at the tackle position. Mm-hmm. So I'm also going Membu, but it's not flashy back-to-back years of going tackle, but I think it would really help.
Also, Fields won't die? ? For number 8, I have McMillan going to the Panthers. Panthers, I think we could benefit off of a good receiver, and pairing him with Leggett, Bryce Young might have some more weapons to throw to, and maybe the Panthers office can really get going this next season.
Yeah, I think it's a big possibility they get some more weapons for Bryce Young. I kind of am focusing a little bit more on the defensive side,
which is also
so
fair.
Looking at it, and this is also they could move down. I mean,
they can do whatever they want.
There's so many defensive pieces throughout this, especially in the first round, that they could look at where they'll be fine. I just look at it though, and I think honestly, and you've mentioned this in the past, Will Johnson to the Panthers, I think is kind of the best move. I won't say it's the best move. You got so many moves.
Yeah, but there's a lot of great players they could choose from.
Yeah, I think they just go corner though, and shore up that position.
Number 9 for the Saints, I have Jalen Walker, only because I like his versatility, and I think if you could get whatever is going on now at the Saints on offense, you let your offensive guru fix that offense. You load the talent on the defense. You won't have to worry too much about defense going into next year, but it could also solidify stuff you need to build on later down the road. And I think through a bit of wear and tear, that Saints defense could benefit from having someone like Jalen Walker to come and kind of do it all, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I like him going there. It's probably not the favorite pick to go there, but it definitely can work. So
that's fair. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that you could see with the Saints doing, especially on the defensive side. Haven't seen a lot of Jalen Walkers, at least there. Not to say he hasn't gone in this range. We've seen him at 8.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Saints it'd be interesting as a move for them. But I think with the news of Derek Carr potentially missing the entire next season, and already being in a position of feeling like you need a new quarterback going forward, you have a new coach, offensive minded Kellen Moore. Get him a guy who he can work with. You have weapons and everything. You just kind of need a guy to sling it. And again, with your starting quarterback out, you don't really have like a great backup. I think they're gonna have to look to the draft to find somebody. And who better than probably the only other day one really ready quarterback left on the board, Shadur Sanders, who could the Saints potentially move down to take him? Sure, but I have him sitting here and taking Sanders at 9.
Number 10. Here's to finish my chaos of whatever I did earlier. I have the Raiders picking up Will Johnson. Like I said before, I think corner is probably the biggest necessity that they do need. Not saying that running back isn't. I just think that maybe focus on the defense first, I think. I think you have a little bit more talent on offense than you do on defense.
I have the Giants here after their trade down with the Bears.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of things they could look at, but they miss out on the top 2 tackles. You miss out on Will Johnson. Travis Hunter's obviously gone. And it's kind of just finding the best potential piece here. And I think this can come down to a few different things, but I think it honestly would be between McMillan and Warren. And I actually leaned towards McMillan here because obviously it's just going to be Russ or Jameis the next 1 to 2 years throwing them the ball.
Yeah, depending on who it is.
You have the potential to get a guy down the board who can develop and have come in with these young guys as the receiving core for the next few years. And I think it's a really good mix. They're different styles between Neighbors and McMillan. McMillan, a big guy who's playing up in New Jersey. It's nice and cold. It's built for guys like him. So I have McMillan, and I think it would honestly not, as much as you miss out on some of the other guys, I don't think it would still be a good fit for them.
That's fair. Going on to number 11, you got the Niners. I do think both lines are in need. However, I do think that picking Kelvin Banks Jr. here to pair him with Trent Williams would be a really good idea. Mostly because obviously both sides have lost pieces through free agency or whatever it is, more on the defense. But I do think if you can get Kelvin Banks Jr. up there, it kind of relieves some of the pressure off of Trent Williams, and kind of gives somebody to, like, I don't know, take him under his wing. I don't know. I just like the idea of Banks going to San Francisco.
I view, though, with San Francisco losing so much on the defensive side through free agency, them focusing more on defense, and just going after a guy who, like, it's best defensive player available. You got your team's been gutted on the defensive side. All you're really left with is like Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
And so who can you go to give him some help? And it's just going to be, who's the best guy out there? And you kind of mentioned it, maybe not the best guy at his position. And not to say that he's bad, but not the best at his position. Obviously, someone's better at his position. He's further up the board, but versatility says a lot. So I'm gonna have Jalen Walker going here. It's kind of weird. It feels like a weird move.
It kind of does. I see what you mean, but they do need somebody like that.
Someone to bounce around to just create another threat. And again, he can play absolutely anywhere. Well, not absolutely anywhere, but he can play in many different spots to kind of throw that off. And while accounting for Nick Bosa, that could cause a lot of problems. So I have Walker.
For the 12th pick for the Cowboys, maybe they'll be smart this time. Maybe. But I have them picking Shamar Stewart here. They've needed an edge. I do think that it's something that they could pick up, obviously, this early. Obviously, the other one would be Abdul Carter, but there's no way he falls this far. So they just kind of pick the next best edge. And you can argue that like Mike Green would be better or something like that, but Stewart seems like a Cowboys pick. So I'm going to let that be for the moment.
I can definitely see Stewart being considered a Cowboys pick.
Yeah.
But no, I think it does come down to edge or receiver for them in the first round, unless somehow they can get Genty. Or, I mean, I considered it. I have considered it a few times. Them reaching on a running back.
We'll see.
Reaching down a little bit, and I'm not talking about Hampton. And maybe that's something I do in another one. But this one, just he's still there. I think if he's there at this point, it just feels like a good fit for them. Getting CD some help in the receiver room and going out and getting Golden. I could also see it potentially being Luther Burden here for
Burden.
the Cowboys, but I think Golden he's a little bit more just like a well-rounded receiver.
Yeah.
And like true receiver, and I think they kind of need that. I don't think they're in a position to kind of go get someone more like Luther Burden, but I could also be wrong. I just think it is a better fit for Golden to be here, so I'm going to go Matthew Golden.
All right. Ring-a-ding-a-ding. I've got a trade alert. I have the Bengals moving up here to get the Dolphins spot. So who I have here is a situation where Bengals need help on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Desperately.
Mm-hmm.
I like Mike Green. I think Mike Green could do well at Cincinnati. I don't know why I think that. Maybe it's just because I've kind of bought into the hype that people have been placing on him and how you've been talking about him specifically. Looking into him, yeah, I like this option. Bengals get help on defense, and they have a solid piece to kind of build off of that with hopefully Hendrickson if he's still there. We'll see. Your turn.
Yeah, I will say before I even make my pick, I do like the. I think that is a good trade. Or like a good trade concept. I like the move. If the Bengals make that move, I think that is a good move because, Dolphins potentially could look to move down. If they can actually sway that would be impressive. But it's kind of like that last spot to get an edge there.
Yeah, I was going to say because the Cowboys picked up an edge there, there's going to be incentive to try and grab one.
Yeah, I see a very likely run of edges 15 to 17. I think that is very possible. And the Colts being at 14, while they could trade back because they're not necessarily looking at edge, I think with the guy they're looking at, there's going to be a lot of incentive to stay. So I like the trade you made. I didn't have that, and I kind of wish I did, but instead,
yeah, I did something right.
Instead, I'm going to stick here, and they're going to get the replacement for Javon Holland and pick up Malachi Starks is the guy that I have here.
It's not bad.
A pickup
like
that I've seen a couple times recently, and I really like the concept, especially just, again, replacing that. And something that will... it has the potential to change a lot.
Yeah.
But there have been rumors coming out that now the Dolphins are looking for a Jalen Ramsey trade. And so if that's the case, now we especially have them making a move, but like things will change if that happens. But
Oh yeah.
as is, I have them taking Malachi Starks.
All right. Sounds good. So, Colts at number 14. Tyler Warren. I mean, that's kind of an obvious pick, kind of just having him sit here at this point. Someone's going to pick up a tight end at some point. I don't know which team. Colts probably might be the team to do that. I don't know. It makes sense for him to go there.
I think they're like the clear favorite to take a tight end. Maybe not the first tight end,
Not at
but
first, but
as
definitely
like
at some point.
if you were to make betting odds on what each team's what position they will pick, I think your best bet is the Colts taking a tight end.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if they didn't.
I have Tyler Warren, and if Tyler Warren wasn't here, I think it'd still be Loveland.
Yeah.
There's still other options for them, but I like Tyler Warren here.
All right. No, that's your pick, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
It was my pick as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm awake. So the Falcons here, they do the thing that they were supposed to be doing for so long. They get an edge. They get Mikael Williams here. I like the idea of the Georgia boy staying in town. I do think he's really good off the line. He's very explosive. And I think Atlanta's was kind of needing that for a while. So that's all I got.
That's fair. I also have them looking at edge. I think there's a few different things they could look at, but I think eventually you have enough years of edge being a need. Eventually, it's going to be a move, and especially like I think it's absolutely going to be defense.
Oh, definitely.
And you just kind of go, especially if you're just looking at like best guys available. Edge kind of is that position. I could see maybe one or two other guys that you could make a move for instead. That would be a better move than edge for them. But I still have it as edge. I think it comes down to a few names for them. But really what I see the best move being for them, I'm going to go Shamar Stewart here is what I have.
Valid.
Maybe seems a little typical. I'm very back and forth between him and Mike Green, but I think someone's gonna pass on Mike Green based off of the fact that he was playing in the Sun Belt, and so
Yeah.
I think it's gonna happen to someone where they don't take him, and obviously that's not to say that like I'm guaranteeing that he is worth it, but I have him viewed pretty highly.
Right.
As it's been made clear in the past. But Stewart for the Falcons.
Cardinals here, to me, the dire need is either a defensive tackle or an edge.
D-line, I agree.
D-line has been something that they've been needed, and I think Derek Harmon could help. I like the idea of him going there. I looked at his stats earlier. I don't know if this was this guy or not, but he's what you need. He was great at Oregon. I don't know, someone to build off of, and he's young and he's going to be very, quick off the snap, and he's gonna get there real fast. So I don't know who else you want to have him go after the opposing quarterbacks, but you need to start somewhere, and I think Derek Harmon can get that going. So,
yeah, and I will agree. I looked a lot at Derek Harmon for this pick. It's if you take it at face value, it's a back and forth, and you just got Sweat, so you have some faith in your edge room. Either way, you do need both because they address both, but only like 50% of it.
Oh, yeah.
And again, Gannon being that guy who excelled at building good D lines in Philly. you really just are looking for someone. And again, Harmon absolutely could be that guy. But with the context of you have the Falcons take Stewart in front of you, especially if the guy, I feel like the guy they would go for here is Mike Green if they go for an edge. And you just saw the Falcons take an edge that wasn't Mike Green.
You might as well take one.
So, like, it's that sigh of relief you take him here. If it was Mike Green, maybe they would look at Derek Harmon, but I think they look past the discrepancy of competition in college and knowing that edges are going to start going after you as well. I think this is the time for them to get him. So I think Mike Green goes here.
For sure. Based off of what I had before all the news about the Jalen Ramsey thing, I actually just learned that when you said that, so it kind of throws a wrench in what I had originally. But I have the Dolphins here picking Tyler Booker. Dolphins have just needed to protect Tua for so long, and they've been failing at doing that. So please save Tua, I guess. I don't know. Booker just kind of fits that scheme in my eyes. I just like the like what he does. I don't know. There's not much off of him that kind of, I don't know, negates me to not pick him here.
I mean,
especially with the trade that I made earlier.
He's the best interior guy. I do kind of feel like they still would look at a tackle as far as a lineman goes, but that's like as far as an interior guy, if you're willing to take him that high and that's what you really want to go on, I mean, he's the best interior guy by a pretty considerable amount.
Shot, yeah.
But I still have the Bengals here, and again, it's going to be best defensive player available for them, but I think that they feel the same pressure that the other two have felt to pick an edge up here, and I don't. I know Michael Williams is like right there, but there's something about the way the Bengals address edge, and yes, I am going to go edge because again, run of edges.
Yeah.
Something with the way they address edge, though, just doesn't draw me towards Michael Williams for them. Instead, it's drawing me more towards maybe doesn't make as much sense, but as far as explosiveness goes, James Pierce.
Interesting.
And I think we've done that in the past.
He's jumped a bit.
But he's fallen, and I think there's a good chance he does fall. But I don't know why. He kind of just fits this image in my head of what the Bengals will do. He doesn't fit the size requirement as much for them.
But he does fit their style.
I think
I can see that.
I for some reason I just see that as a move they make. And again, it could also just not be an edge. But I think there's at least a 3-team run of edges here. I think these 3 teams are very likely to pick edge. And now it also could be possible that none of them pick edge. It's possible, but
yeah, kind of goes off what we've been kind of saying with him specifically. I mean, with the Bengals, Bengals will just take anybody that's good for defense. So, for the Seahawks, though, I have them picking Gray Zabel. They need a guard desperately, and I think Zabel, could help quite a bit. I think he's a really strong suit for as a guard. I'm trying to see if they don't have that there, but yeah, I don't know. I like Zabel. I think he's a great player, and Seahawks need to fix the line, so anybody would go here, I guess. But this kind of goes off into my next pick too, so this will be an incentive for somebody to move up here.
Yeah, so this is there's a potential for this to really be the move here, but it's I can see them pushing for a need at lineman, and there's a guy that they really would want in Kelvin Banks.
Okay.
I'll change what I had originally. I'm gonna have him taking Kelvin Banks, just with him falling a little bit further than his expected spot. I think there's a very good chance they look at receiver, but with strong needs on the O-line and just across the O-line, picking up someone here would be good. And Kelvin Banks, again, he's still here for me, so I think that's a good pickup for them, and that'll help them going forward. So Kelvin Banks.
Yeah. So I have somebody moving up here. It's the Packers. I have the Packers moving up here to fix their line, specifically on the O-line. They've been, they've got to need something to fix whatever has been going on over there. And I think the guy that would help them is Josh Simmons.
Interesting.
I know that he has been injured, but the Packers have been needing somebody to kind of booster their O-line. And I think once he slowly eases into things, then he'll really pick it up. I see a lot of potential in him in the NFL. He was good in college when he was obviously not injured. But
I think that's interesting, mostly for the fact that I don't actually view tackle even as a top 3 need for them, and they went with tackle last year. So I would be shocked if they went with tackle again after their top 3 needs. For me, being edge, corner, and receiver, I think it would be really interesting to see him go tackle. But I mean, I see Simmons as potentially, again, he's one of those guys who his main downside is his injury from last year.
Yeah.
But
I just said it might be slow for him to get going.
But I have the Buccaneers staying here and just going best defensive guy available, which to me actually is going to come out to Jihad Campbell. I've seen him before, and I really like him. If he falls to him, I really like him going here. So I have Jihad Campbell going to the Buccaneers.
So for number 20, for the Broncos, you have convinced me that the Broncos are going to pick a running back. And I like the idea of Amarian Hampton going to the Broncos. Just, I don't know why. I mean, the Broncos do need a good running back. That's probably one of the important things that they're probably looking forward to. I know it's not the flashiest pick at running back specifically, but it is something they do need, and I think Amarian Hampton can help with that. And they just need a running back run in that room. So,
yeah. So I looked at this, and again, I still think they're a team that just needs kind of weapons. They're a little bit heavier on the running back side, I think, than like the Chargers, who lean more the receiver side, and there's the Raiders who kind of need both. But Broncos need kind of a weapon, and I kind of look at it, again, running back really tempting, but also it is a deep running back class, and they don't necessarily need to pick one up here. I know a lot of people like Hampton, and I know they like the fit that they have with him, like how he would fit into that offense. It would look great. But I actually think, especially with like the Chargers 2 spots behind them, they kind of want to mess with what they want to do. And we've seen teams do this before, where they take a player that maybe a different team would want. I mean, the Cowboys did it with CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. But I have them actually looking at receiver for that reason.
Okay.
And the guy that I like them going for, he's a little bit further down, but I have a feeling he's going to turn out, mostly because from this school, these guys tend to turn out pretty good. I have the Broncos going down and getting Egbuka and getting a receiver threat, helping Bo Nix, and also in the process kind of screwing the Chargers, who I think that might have been their favorite pick if he was there. So
If he was there, yeah.
Egbuka for me is the pick.
Okay. Number 21, Steelers. Because he's still there, Shedeur Sanders. I mean, if he wasn't there, I'd probably do like Dart as well. But in my case, Shedeur Sanders is there, and he's more day one ready than anything else. So
Yeah,
But-
this is, and yeah, if Shedeur Sanders is there, I think at 21, he's the move. I have been in the idea mostly if the Steelers are going to go quarterback, which it seems very likely that they do, regardless if they get Rodgers or not. It's going to be Sanders if he's there, Dart if he's not. But with rumors of Milroe potentially going there, and he's been invited to and is going to attend day one of the draft. It might happen, and I would hate everything. I'm still going Dart here because I still think Dart fits better what they would want to do. He's not as much of a developmental guy, and I think he still needs to be developed. But Milroe is a project.
22 for the Chargers. I have them picking Loveland here. Yes, they could pick receiver here. But I think the Chargers, just looking at the receiver room and then looking at their tight end situation, I think the tight end might be more of a pressing matter than their receiver room a little bit. I'm not saying I don't like Logan Disley or anything. It's just they don't have a really flashy prospect at tight end right now.
They don't.
They can work with what they have at receivers, and they can get people later down the board too. It's just I
mean, it's about
they
just
do.
getting a good weapon.
And
I think
Loveland's great.
I think Loveland is very good, and again, Harbaugh with the chance to get one of his Michigan guys, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I actually have a different philosophy in mind. Being Chargers, we're hoping for Egbuka.
Yeah.
Egbuka is gone, and
Whoop-dee-doo.
chance for someone to do something very funny that has happened many times before is somebody trading up. I have the Lions moving up,
There it is.
and I have
There it
them
is.
jumping the Packers because they love to do it.
Bye, Packers.
And coming in and taking Michael Williams.
23. I have the Buccaneers here right now. So I have them picking up Emanwari. I like Emanwari going to the Buccaneers. Fits pretty nicely there. I did think about Starks, and I did think about a couple other prospects. But with Emanwari, I think he's probably not just the best fit there, but I think he has the most upside, not just at the position, but out of the players I thought of there.
I still have Packers here,
Yeah.
and as they're so upset, I still think they go edge
Probably.
and just push down the board, but they're not happy because I think Michael Williams would have been their choice that they would have wanted, especially if he falls that far. But instead, I think they settle for Scorton here. They don't move back or anything. They just, they stick it and take it with Scorton.
Okay. Number 24, the Vikings. Kind of similar situation because the Buccaneers took him and Warrior off the board. I think Starks goes to the Vikings. I think either of them would do wonders on either team. It's just who can get them first. I think that's the thing. If somebody gets the first safety off the board, the other one's going to freak out, I think. Because, safeties are, they're not as highly valued as some other positions, but there's only so many safeties you're going to get in the first round alone in an NFL draft. So I think in the situation that I kind of placed them in, if Evan Warrior is already gone, then they're like, well, might as well just take Starks because he's there and we need a safety. So he's just the next best guy off the board.
And it's kind of funny. I've been so locked in for the Vikings looking at the defensive backfield for a player. And I think almost every single time it comes down to the same two guys. And I still continue to make the same decision every time. And that's going to be the Vikings taking Eamon Worry. If Barron's there, it's going to be I think it's going to be pretty 50-50. But I think Eamon Worry is going to be it just feels like such a good fit for, just having that athleticism, being able to move around, do whatever. The restriction on Barron, I think, is going to let him, again, continue to drop. And you're kind of in the range where maybe they'll overlook that and get someone who might be a little bit more slot-like, but I still am going to stick with him and Ward.
So number 25, we have the Texans just sitting here, eager to get something on that O-line. So I just had them pick up the next, I guess what some people would call the next best. But the next one off the board would probably be Donovan Jackson.
I am going to make this pick again because you lost Laramie Tunsil.
Yep.
You need that replacement at tackle. And yes, Zabel can play tackle. And yes, you have Josh Simmons with his upside is worth taking a shot on, and he can potentially he's a true tackle who has a potential to kind of replace Laramie Tunsil. And so if he's there, I just see it being the best pick for them. And so that's why I'm going to stick. And obviously just O-line is such a big glaring hole for the Texans, but Simmons is my pick for the Texans at 25 again.
Sweet. For number 26, I have the Rams picking James Pierce Jr. James Pierce Jr. is still a great prospect that they could pick up, especially with what they need. Because if you can help on that line and give the Rams what they need in that situation, I think it will work out really well. I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of him going there.
I see Rams here picking someone to go alongside Fisk on the interior D line.
Yeah.
And I go back and forth a lot between Nolan and Harmon here because this happens quite a bit for me where someone's in this 26, 27 range. So Rams or Ravens looking at defensive tackles and just trying to decide whether you want someone like Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon. And last time I think I went with Walter Nolan. This time I'm going with Derek Harmon.
For the Ravens, you're probably going to be very judgmental about what I do. This one was, you're not wrong. This is a hard decision for the Ravens because they could do a lot of stuff here, but also most of that's on the defense, I'd say, for the most part. I do think what they pick up here, though, is Barron. Barron's probably the best, I'd say, right now.
It really is just like a tough spot, especially if all those runs of edges go.
Yeah.
It doesn't leave a lot of space for them to make moves here. And while in most cases, yes, it's gonna look at like a defensive player. And Barron is there. I like that as an option with what I have. But what I think is more, what I'd probably be more happy with in this specific situation, just because he's fallen this far, would be getting Tyler Booker, and that's what I have. Just because he's available.
Because
for
he's
me.
available for you.
Yeah, which has made it very fortunate for the Ravens, and yeah, so
Yeah. 28, Detroit. They need an edge. There's not a whole lot that I had left, so I kind of picked Scorton to go here. I mean, he's not the best, but he's still decent enough, I think. The farther
Yeah.
down I get on the board, the less confident I am with some picks, but
yeah, the edges, especially down.
they're harder to determine.
Once you get past like Michael Williams,
I was about to say
it gets a
Williams.
little bit iffier. Yeah, me personally, well, because I had my trade because I had the Lions move up. So this is actually the Chargers, and this is the easiest pick for the Chargers, as I still have Loveland here. So I have them picking up Loveland at
Bye,
28.
Loveland.
So yeah,
Washington. They also need an edge. I don't have much to work with, but I do think that I'm gonna butcher his last name. Donovan Izir. No, I'm not gonna pronounce that. Donovan from Boston College. I think he's really good. I like him. So
yeah. I mean, I think there's a pretty good chance he's falling as far as ranks go over the weeks, but I think there's still a very good chance that he does squeak in at the back end of the first round.
yeah,
But
He's- if not, he's very high valued at second round. So
I have the Commanders kind of just looking at like, best position or best player available. A lot of their needs do point towards the defense, and it only really works in this scenario that I'm in. Would be Amari Hampton. I think there's a chance Brian Thomas gets moved, and you're looking beyond Austin Eckler, obviously.
for the Bills situation, because there isn't a whole lot of cornerbacks, they do need a cornerback, but they also need to fix the defensive tackle position, just in general on that line, because what is it? Von Miller, he's gone, and they've kind of been depleted there for a while. I do think if they pick up Kenneth Grant from Michigan, I think that'd be a really good fit for him, especially with him, living in Michigan, and he's used to the snow. He's used to colder weather. I think he could really flourish there.
There's a few pieces for them to look at, but I think the piece that they end up going with is the guy who has been falling and almost completely falls out of the first round after, again, he's been mocked top 15 so many times, is Jahdae Barron.
Yeah.
Getting someone to kind of shore up that corner room. They lost a couple pieces to free agency. You've lost pieces over the years. And so they kind of need someone to come in and kind of finish up that spot. And there's depth. There's depth at a couple positions. And so maybe that's why they look past it here. But someone who is pretty highly touted falling to you here, I think they like an opportunity with someone like that. So I have Barron.
31 with the Chiefs. They just need defensive tackles and anybody on O-line, because they lost a lot of pieces on the O-line to the offseason. They will probably pick up in this situation Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon. I mean, I looked a little bit into him. He's not bad. I think anybody from Oregon specifically is still pretty good, especially with how good of a season they had last year. A little anticlimactic, yes, but still great players.
I have this being the same guy. It's pretty much always been when it comes around to the Chiefs, just because I have more of a drought in the midsection because of how defense, I think, will be prioritized in this class, especially later in the first round.
Yeah.
That allows them to have Gray Zabel fall to them. I've probably had it almost every single time.
Yeah.
And it's just because he fits exactly what I think they would need in an O-lineman, that he can bounce around, he can play inside, and he's just the kind of prospect I see the Chiefs viewing highly enough to take if he's there, but not highly enough. He's not high enough on other people's boards where he falls to them.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of one of those that makes sense. Probably going to be wrong, but I was able here.
All right. Last pick, Philadelphia Eagles. With C.J. Gardner-Johnson being gone, they kind of need a corner. The next corner off the board is Siobhan Reevil from East Carolina. I think that would be decent, especially with the situation I kind of put him in.
I have things kind of working out perfectly for the Eagles, which it just always tends to happen. And them having a freebie with Walter Nolan, who is kind of a freak from Ole Miss with a lot of potential upside, and he just gets to get paired with Carter and Davis. You lost Milton Williams, so he'll be a good replacement, and they get someone to fall to him. So it almost makes it seem a little more realistic.
Yeah.
This is my full results.
And this is my full results.
There's so many things that, like, this falls into the what people assume is going to happen. But we don't really know. And you know what? You're welcome to judge us based off of what you think will happen. But at the end of the day, none of us actually know what is going to happen. And so that's why it is fun doing it, is we get to kind of come up with ideas of what we think will happen. Either way, it's going to be wrong, probably.
Yeah.
Not, but
99% of these are going to probably be wrong from my end. That's
you can tell us about that in the comments, about how each of us are wrong. But yeah, feel free to take to the comments and let us know how we did, maybe who won.
I
guess
did.
But yeah, this is our first mock draft versus. I also, again, have no idea if anyone else has ever done it. So
we could probably do this again, and I will probably be a whole lot better next time.
That would be the hope.
So.
But thank you for joining us for this video, this mock draft versus. Let us know what you thought. But we're so excited for draft coming up. So ready for that.
We will be live streaming.
That glorious live stream. But
I've missed it. I miss live streaming.
Until then, we will see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
I'm so disappointed in myself.